Here with post-media political columnist Anthony Furey talking about Donald Trump's first year in office. Tomorrow, November 8th, will be the one-year anniversary of Donald Trump winning the election.
I don't know how people have survived it. You know, they tore their hair out on November 8th.
Yeah.
They're supposed to have this, they're supposed to be doing this party, this screaming at the sky thing in honor of it, to acknowledge it. I don't know how the folks made it through the year. They've been going so hysterical.
Well, let's just start there then. And what, if anything, has the establishment learned after the populist candidate, if you will, took charge of the Oval Office?
Nothing. They've had some inverse learning. They've kind of stepped back and lost stuff. You know, we had this poll here in Canada, although it applied to the U.S. as well, done by a major opinion polling company that looked at people's trust in the establishment, government, media, corporations, and they found it all plummeted. This was from about January, so a few months after the election, and they found that trust had dropped by about 10% in all of those categories. So people were really upset with the establishment in general. Maybe that didn't translate to total like of everything Trump was doing, but they were trying to send a signal. I don't think people got it because they're still trying to sort of shame and chastise anybody out there who is still critical of the establishment.
And we all know Trump goes after certain media outlets more than others. So maybe those outlets won't cover as many of the things he gets done. Any major accomplishments that you can talk about for the Trump administration so far a year in?
Well, I think the biggest challenge and the biggest thing to criticize him on is he has had problems succeeding in traction on some of the issues. You know, dealing with building the wall, that was a big part of the promise, hasn't done it. The Obamacare revision isn't going along as perfectly as he thought he would. So by all means, criticize him for those things. But they find all these distractions. I mean, just the other day, there's a story of this total almost hoax about this koi fish ceremony that Donald Trump disrespected and dishonored in Japan because of the way he dumped the food into the koi fish box, and it was a headline at CNN and other places, and it just wasn't true. Like, he just wasn't doing what they said he did. So by all means, you want to criticize how he's dealing with the tax reform, do it. That's a real thing. Half of the things they're talking about, though, they're just not even real.
Kind of reminds you of the Martin Luther King bust in the White House, that kind of a similar thing?
That story was crazy. So it was just a couple days ago, a couple days after he got into office, like a year ago, they say, oh, you removed Martin Luther King's bust, look at this, to suggest like with this horrible racist person. He just didn't do it. The bust was still there, and this was a story that Time magazine put forward.
And surely, I mean, some of the concerns and criticisms, of course, are legitimate. Can we talk about a few of those in your eyes?
Well, I certainly think you should. I mean, in terms of dealing with building the wall, the tax reform, the Obamacare, he's certainly not doing it as quickly and as effectively as he said he should. So totally focus on these issues, and it's the distractions, the idea of totally demoralizing the guy and anyone who voted for him that I think is just turning people away from the establishment even more.
One of Trump's major catchphrases during the, and still is fake news. And certain outlets, he criticizes CNN about their wall-to-wall coverage of certain things. I thought by now we might see an end to kind of the craziest wall-to-wall coverage of Trump doing everything wrong. We still haven't seen that. Do you think we'll see an end to that over the next few years?
I hope we do. I don't think we're going to see it because they're dining out on it so much, and their ratings actually have benefited from it, from going just nuts wall to wall about the guy. So even when he doesn't give them ammo, and a lot of times they're self-inflicted wounds. You know, he says and tweets some things that maybe you sort of kind of shouldn't be doing. Even when he doesn't do that, they find that, like the koi fish pond hoax.
And they're still kind of using it though, because Kellyanne Conway goes on CNN recently and says, "Why don't you guys just own hating Trump?" So I think it was the Sunday guy, Brian
Stelter, yeah.
Stelter, yeah. So they got into a back and forth. So I think both sides are kind of enjoying it a bit.
Yeah, I think they're having a good time, but I don't know how long the center can hold for the next few years.
For political columnist Anthony Furey, I'm Kurt Larson. You can read Anthony on politics every week in the Toronto Sun.